Yo, welcome to today's episode. Today we discuss Dave's male grooming tips. We go a deep dive into why Ben was in Ibiza and the lessons that he learned, as well as sort of touching on the dreaded D word, the diet, essentially the best practice that we have found and our recommendations around that.
Eat more pizza.
Tune in the end and tune into the end and hear me catch Dave out with Daria, the CEO conversation card as well. Enjoy the episode. You know that there has had to have been some sacrifice, whether it's time or nutrition or whatever it is.
Recording myself talking about having a relationship with my chest.
I'm Ben Canning.
I'm Dave Kennedy.
And this is Hacking Health Podcast. Yo, welcome back, everybody. Episode 108. You're here with Ben and Dave. We are catching up, and I'm giving Dave a hard time because he does not have a beard.
Listen, it's kind of a beard. There's like a little bit of stubble there. So you can, that's why I went with the ultra high def camera. So you can see kind of the little bit of the hair growing back from my mishap of shaving my face off on accident. It has been like 6 or 7 days and it's driving me nuts. I don't recognize who I am because literally it's been 15 years since I've shaved my face.
Well, I'll say this. Don't ever do it again.
I agree. Believe me, I have put in, those in the cybersecurity industry would know that, when you have a issue, you document the process and then you address the process and fix it and iterate upon that, right? To improve process improvement, especially from an IR perspective. Hey, what can we do better from a response? And I am definitely, I have a nice little thing I printed out that says, make sure you check the blade before you actually shave your face. So that's not going to happen again. Yeah. It was funny because like Aaron and I were going on a date. And I had all my clothes on, spraying, some nice stuff. It looked really good. Wore a tight shirt, and I was like really quick and I just shave underneath my neck and just kind of trim up the beard a little bit to look good. And we're in a hurry because we were already running late. And I grabbed the razor and I go, the first place it goes like bzzz, right there, and it just takes the whole pad of hair off. And I get that cold sweat. I'm like, shit. And I'm like, all right, here we go. They show the whole thing off. I messaged her. I'm like, listen, something really bad just happened, and I need you not to judge me. And she's like, what does that mean? I'm like, like I just shaved my face off. She's like, oh, okay, well, that's bad, but not that bad. Okay, so it was good.
Judged you instantly as soon as she saw it.
She's like, seriously, I can't get used to this.
Well, I mean, I agree. I don't think you should do it again. So
no, yeah,
that's my view on it.
I'm kind of upset you didn't give a sympathy shave though.
Absolutely no way.
I was going through a lot in my life, and I was, like second guessing everything. Like I was actually going to quit lifting completely, and you wouldn't even shave your beard for that.
No, you should have. You definitely should have. No, I mean, like I said before, like there's a lot of things I will do. There's a lot of forfeits I will do. There's a lot of things that I'll do to support you as a friend. But if it involves me shaving off my beard, I'm out.
All right, fair enough. I found out how long that line goes. Gotcha.
Yeah.
The matter is, once my beard's back, I wouldn't do the same for you either. So
I know. And that's okay. But I mean, hopefully by next week's episode, but we're going to record that in 2 days, so probably not. But hopefully we'll get it back soon.
Yeah. It might be back in 2 days. You never know. I've been like putting some cream on it and
just draw it on like super black eyeliner to draw it on.
It's like literally a black marker.
Anyway, aside from the beard shit show, what's going on, man? How are you?
Listen, things are going really well. We're catching up a little bit before the podcast, but businesses are doing really, really good. It's just keeping me really busy, and this is a good lesson. A lot of times when I'm doing things, people ask like, "Well, how do you have the time to do this and that and that and this?" And normally I can balance my days pretty well. I prioritize lifting in the mornings. My kind of my cardiovascular work, HIIT training, all stuff in the mornings, and then throughout the day it gets really busy. But it's just been really busy as of late. Just a lot of things moving, companies growing. We're doing extremely well on all fronts, and so, but it's kind of had me sporadically in like a lot of different things with not a lot of time for everything. But one thing I could say is that training has not taken an impact. In fact, hit a new PR of 555 on conventional deadlifts. So very happy about that. And things have been going really good. I mean, I'll tell you, family life, businesses, marriage, like everything's just perfect right now. And I hope it all stays that way for forever. It's been really good. But let's talk about you, Ben. So let's talk about last week. What happened last week, Ben?
So first of all, before we get into it, I would like to admit that I did not get my check-in on last week.
Yep.
And
you heard it here first, everybody. Ben did not do his check-in last week.
There's two things that I need to say on that point. Number one, it was a test of you as a coach to see how you dealt with the situation. And number two, one of the things that was said at Matt's event last week was, as a coach, often we get too attached to the process, so coaching the process rather than coaching the person. So my reflection upon that as a coach is I need to sort of step away from being so attached to how I do things as a process and understand the person a little bit more. So that's...
Are you somehow pointing this back on me?
Well, no, I'm just saying that that's what I took from it.
How am I feeling guilty right now?
You tell me.
I mean, like, I didn't actually give you any. I didn't get to give you any crap, by the way.
That's because you were waiting specifically for today.
Well, yeah, 100%, yeah. But that's more of a jest. In all honesty, I recognize that we all get busy. But I was on you for getting to the gym and seeing when you can get in there and trying to keep on you. And you did you go yet after your car?
I haven't picked my car up yet.
Oh my God.
So the cars that I know I'm giving you excuses here, and feel free to just call me out. It's absolutely no problem whatsoever. So I arrived back last night from Ibiza to Belfast Airport. I got home at about midnight, went straight to bed, got up this morning, go through work. I left my car at the detailer's before I left, and he texted me today saying it needs something to do with a coating on the wheels or something. I was like, look, dude, whatever you need. I mean, you've had it for a week, and why are you only telling me now? But whatever you need to do. So I'll have it back tomorrow, and I'll be driving straight to the gym.
So you're not going today?
I mean, it's 8 p.m. No, I'm not going to the gym today.
All right. Listen, that means though you get no rest days until Saturday or until Sunday, right?
Fine,
you got to go straight every day. Okay.
No problem whatsoever. That's absolutely fine.
Here's committing to this whole day, everybody. So not only is he gonna be letting me down, but the entire podcast crew that listens to this podcast, he'd be letting down if he doesn't go every single day. Just trying out there.
I tell you what, if I do not go to the gym Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
yeah,
I'll allow you to shave my beard off.
Okay. All right. Sorry? Done deal.
Okay. Good. All right. So now that we've got Matt out of the way. No, things are good, dude. Like I said, last week was I guess a bit of a different week. Obviously, I've had a lot of travel on recently for work stuff and client events and whatever else. Last week was Matt's get shit done day, which I guess is 2 days now, in Ibiza. So how the story went about this, his last event was in Edinburgh in March, and we were sitting around the table. I think there was about 80 coaches the last time we were all sitting around the table having dinner after it, and we were talking like suggestions of when or where the next one should be. And generally he does one like March and then one in September. And people were shouting out like ridiculous ideas, and then someone shouted at Ibiza, and he was like, right, okay, I think I could do Ibiza. Potentially we could look at doing that next March. And I was like, no. We're the people who get shit done. So you'll do it in September. He was like, fucking hell, it's only 6 months away, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, we got there. Two things I'll say. Number one, that shows that you can get shit done. The entire event from start to finish, every single detail that was thought about, he has sort of passed the torch on to Sarah, his wife, to look after the events. Like endless amounts of research, detail, every single thing was thought about. Like it was an absolutely incredible event. The second thing was, it was my first, I guess, 2 opportunities of public speaking. On the Tuesday night, whenever I arrived, they had the Vanguard dinner, which is essentially his group of higher performing clients. So they're like in a separate group. It was the first dinner. It was the first time they had all met together. And I spoke in front of that to tell essentially my origin story of how I became to be a coach and sort of get to where I was now. So I spoke the first night in the villa in front of about 20 people, which was really cool. Then we had dinner, and then actually we did the Diary of a CEO conversation cards, which was actually cool. I think that sort of set the tone for the rest of the week. There was a lot of emotion. There was a lot of deep conversations. There was a lot of like just going beyond the surface level. It was cool to get to know the team that worked for Matt. Kira obviously was there. It was cool to catch up with her. She'll actually be coming up to the Belfast event on Sunday this week, which I think will be good. So that's a surprise that I haven't told anybody yet. So surprise, awesome. Surprise. And then on the Wednesday, it was the first day of the event. So there was 50 coaches in total. Really cool spot in Ibiza. We had it for 2 days. And I was first on. And I was kind of like, fucking put me on first. What the fuck? So he came, introduced everybody, welcomed everybody, whatever else, introduced me. And then essentially I spoke about how to grow and scale an online business. I feel like the second day was better. I don't know whether it was because I'd done it the first day, because it was a sort of relaxed, chilled environment, potentially because it was more people and I couldn't like hyper focus into specific people. Or it could have been the sort of depth of the conversation I was having with the people the night before. But I got my point across. Essentially, there was two things that I wanted to get across whenever I was speaking. Number one, I wanted to normalize hard work, because I don't think that it is seen as a good thing anymore. And I think that it is something that should be used often. Just like you said, being busy with work, sometimes you just have to work hard if you want to get to a thing, whether that's with business, with your actual job, with studying, the school, or you're training yourself. Like, I do think there is always a place for hard work. And I think that there's a lot of people who are trying to step away from that or get away from that in some way, shape, or form. And the second thing was sort of, I guess, breaking the glass ceilings that everybody has. From a financial standpoint, straight up, like, I think as a coach, you sort of have these markers, and as they sort of grow and grow and grow, you still continue to set these markers. And I was sort of just telling them what you can actually go and achieve. It was received really well. I had loads of really fucking cool conversations, loads of people coming up to me that just asking me how sort of we have grown, We Hack Health, and the community, and sort of everything that came along with it. So I had a bit of a two realization moments, and I'll wrap this up because I realize I'm talking about last week's event. There was one point on the Thursday, and Matt won't mind me saying this, he called me over and he was dealing with something and I was helping him out. So we were like outside of where the sort of stretch tent was, and Kira was doing her thing. And I was like, I was pissed off about the thing that he was dealing with. And I was like, fuck that guy. And like, he was standing shoulder to shoulder with me, and I could feel him like sort of shaking. I was like, what the fuck? And I looked around, he was like crying. I was like, you okay? And he looked at me like, yeah. And I'm like, no, what's going on? And he was like, I was like, you can't have to tell me now. And he's like, I'm trying to actually be able to use my words. And it was sort of a realization moment for him, that of the thing that he built, being proud of the thing that he built. And he was like, I'm just really fucking proud of myself. And he was super emotional about it. So it's cool to share that moment with him, because I've been on the entire journey with him. I remember when he first talked about, I have this idea of, a mentoring group. What do you think? And I was like, yeah, I mean, let's fucking do it. So that was a cool moment for me. And then later on that day, we were sort of, number one, we got back up and we did like a sort of panel Q&A thing. So they ran about with a mic and asking questions. It was cool to be able to sort of, offer further advice beyond what I actually spoke about. And there was a moment after that where everything was clearing down, and a couple of people come up and talk to me, and I was like, a moment for me, like, it wasn't that long ago that I was the person in the audience coming up to ask the question. So I felt like it sort of, mentally for me, established me at a slightly higher level than I have been. So overall, it was really fucking cool. Like I said, it was a roller coaster emotions. It was cool to catch up with all the coaches. It was cool to be in Ibiza. It was cool to hang out with Matt and the team. Ran was there. Have to give Ran a massive shout out, because there was a bit of a shit show with the guy who was meant to come and do the photography, and Ran sort of came in on the 89th minute and saved the fucking day. And boy, did he fucking work on those 2-3 days. But I know, Matt and the team were very grateful. So all in all, a really fucking cool week. I think the biggest thing for me, in line with the check-in, it was the first time in a long time that I sort of stepped away from my phone. So I just left it. I just wanted to be present.
By the way, I was about ready to call Karina and say, Ben dead.
Yeah, I know.
He's gone, and he doesn't do that. So it was good. But I didn't want to be like stalker. So I'm like, I'll give him a little bit of time. But if he doesn't answer by tomorrow, I'm flying.
I'm going to. Well, I would have been in Ibiza, so you'd have been screwed. But truthfully, like, it was good in two reasons. Number one, to feel comfortable to do it in the space that I was in. But number two, to sort of just be able to be present with the people who were there and actually really engage in conversations. And one of the guys who delivered, a guy called Joe Paris, he was talking about communication and leadership, and actually being able to sort of listen to people. And a lot of that was playing on my mind. I just actually wanted to be there and be in the conversations. And we were out in a boat for sunset, and everybody's out with their phone recording. It's like, I'm just going to watch it. Like, I'm just going to actually see it. I know fucking Ryan will have a video of it. If I want the video of it, he'll have it. So yeah, it was good. It was good for endless amounts of reasons. Yeah, it was a good thing to go to. I'm glad I went. I'm glad I just sort of detached from everything. Yes, okay, it was still work in some way, shape, or form, and it was a lot of conversations around coaching and work, but it was awesome to be a part of. It was awesome to sort of see and recognize what Matt has grown. And one of the big things that kept coming up was, I guess, about human connection, about community, and sort of understanding that how you make someone feel is more valuable than anything else. And it sort of reminded.
Yeah, I really do agree with that.
Yeah. And it sort of reminded me about, what we're doing and the community that we built, and sort of what's going on with that, and sort of realign me with our purpose, essentially. Because Matt said it and Joe said it. He says, like, we're all here to make leave the world in a better place than we found it. And it's cool to sort of be around people who are aligned with that, and on a similar sort of mission, and hopefully be able to help out with their journeys in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, well, two things, a lot to unpack there, but two things. Yes. First and foremost, congratulations on all the success you've had, and being able to flip from being somebody in the audience to somebody that was up on stage, and people listening to you as, a subject matter expert, or someone that was able to figure it out to change kind of their course and correction from everybody else, right? You're now not part of the audience. You're part of, what the audience wants to hear. And I think that's pretty prolific and pretty awesome to be, part of that and to kind of switch that. And I think that's a good testament that, anybody here listening to that, you have the same capabilities of doing the same thing for yourself, right? Sharing your stories, wanting to help others, being able to give your perspectives of things. When I first came in this industry, I never thought anybody would want to listen to me talk. I was an audience member, and I went from an audience member to speaking on the stage, right? And that's the difference I think that a lot of people undergo. And I think it also hits into, potentially a second area you hit on too, which is the people that want to work. And, you can see a lot of similar traits with people that bust ass and push themselves to different levels, and it's never good enough. And it's something you got to continuously improve on and make better. And you're never happy with where you're at. And those types of folks go far. And I've gone through some periods in my life where I'm like, hey, I got a great company, everything's good. Maybe I'll just coast. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I'm just going to coast. That lasts for like 3 hours, and then I'm right back into going into crazy again. I can't stop, right? And I think those are good signs of people that will ultimately be successful one way or another, whether it's in their family, or whether it's in what they do for cooking, or whether it's what they do for their jobs or anything else that they do. Whatever they put their minds to, they go all in. They hit it. They put the work to go and do it. It's not this immediate dopamine hit of getting something immediately from a reactionary perspective, or a like, or the stuff that we see on social media, where you have a lot of these infosec influencers that are just literally negative folks every day long, just trying to get another like, literally irrelevant, no contributions to helping others or making other people happy. And then you have others that are just kind of constantly fighting the battles, being on IRs and instant responses and helping people and changing the world. And those are the folks that are going to go far. And there's a big difference between those and those that don't. But I think there's something innate in all of us, and this is through our tribalisms and how we've kind of come through evolution. But we always want to provide for our tribe, the success of our tribe, right? And we've talked about that concept before here in the past. But the truth of the matter is that providing for your tribe requires you to work hard, but you have to have a tribe in the first place. So if you're lonely, you're not not there, you don't have a lot of positivity around you, are you really going to be motivated to help your tribe? And so it's a matter of, for us to surround ourselves with people that have the same type of beliefs that we do, in the sense of positivity and helping others. And then from there, being part of that tribe and contributing to that tribe to be successful. And, a lot of this generation, newer generations, I'm sure our grandfathers complain about the same thing, and our great grandfathers and everybody else.
Now we're at that stage.
Right. Now we're the old ones in the lawn, right? Kids these days. But I do think that they are very short-sighted, in the sense that they want something immediately from a gratification perspective, versus, the ability to look down the road and say, well, in 5 years or 10 years, if I do X, I can get Y, right? And it's and when I get Y, though, I'm not done with Y. I want to keep going. And those are the types of folks that I think, again, very successful, can be the ones that are up there helping others, instructing others, that people will listen to because they're willing to put the work in to go and do it.
Yeah, and I think, again, there was another guy asked me, and he was asking me the most obscure, deep questions. And it was good because, like, I think being in a situation like that and actually showing that you are willing to answer the questions. But he asked me something that sort of caught me off guard. He was talking about Harper, and he was talking about, obviously I work quite a lot, and what the sort of dynamic is with that. And he was like, looked me dead in the eye across the dinner table, and he was like, "Do you want Harper to grow up and be like you?" I was like, immediately all the like time and the like, I guess the negative parts of it started to come in. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I do, because I want her to understand the value of, if you work hard, you can be successful in everything that you do. I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that I have it all worked out. I'm just willing to continue to put the work in. And as you said, the people who are willing to just continue to show up on a daily basis and not get the instant gratification and know that they're on a mission that is bigger than themselves are the people who ultimately will be successful, because they're just fucking stubborn and won't take no for an answer, and they will just continue to show up and put the work in whatever it is that they're doing. And there was another sort of, I guess, deeper conversation going on with Joe, and obviously running a business or doing anything, there is a financial element to it, and I will wholeheartedly admit that is, and has been. But I think that once you begin to realize that that's not the thing that gives you the the satisfaction that you thought it would. And I had this realization probably a few months ago in having conversations with Matt. Once you realize that, you have these numbers like goals of whether it's months, quarters, targets, whatever the fucking years, whatever it is, you realize that, okay, you should hit that number, but then you're like, okay, right, well, now what? Where's the fucking fanfare? Where's this? Where's that? And I'm not saying I'm not driven by that in any stretch. I'm not trying to be, I do it for fucking charity in whatever shape or form. But I am definitely in a place now where I realize that the satisfaction, the fulfillment that I get of actually helping people is far greater, and it's far more worthwhile. And again, coming back to how you make people feel and that connection you can make and how you can actually help someone, is far greater and far more worthwhile. Now, obviously, I'm fortunate enough to be in a position that if I do more of that, then I get more financially rewarded, and I'm in a position to sort of bring in other members of the team and help more and more and more people. But detaching from that was a big change for me. But a very good, I think, I'm going to say mature realization to know that, the things that drive me are slightly different now. And I get, essentially I get the other as a byproduct.
It's interesting. You make it sound so simple. You help others. You have good intentions. You do the right thing. You look at always how you can better yourself, better your life, better your family. And all of a sudden, things start to happen. Right. And it's that thing you really can't teach people. And you always say like you want to be a good person, but you can't teach people to be a good person. Upbringing, their own personal desires, those types of things come into play a lot of times, and you get into certain habits of who you are as a person, or certain view that And there was actually there was an interesting study that came out recently on depression, and it turns out that like folks that are depressed have a very different and this makes sense, obviously, but have a very different view of the world, right? Whether that's, out to get them, or there's no one there that is similar to me. I'm unique in the sense that I don't have anybody I can associate with. And it hits everybody, by the way. I fortunately have never been through large depression episodes or felt like I was alone. Thank God. But what these folks have to struggle with is such a hard thing to deal with. And if your view of life is that you're the only one out there, and you're not going to ever meet anybody else, or you're never going to find a partner, you're never going to have a friend, that's a very lonely place to be. And the truth of the matter is there is everybody. There is folks out there. There is people for everybody, and there are groups that are willing and able to accept and help other people. But if your view of everything is continuously negative, or is continuously for me, I need to get me, you're probably not going to go that far, right? Because you're not going to put in the work to help others, to embolden yourself to be more successful, or to be better at what you do, or to help something else that's going on. So there's so many variables I think that go into all of this that you need to kind of consider as you're going through life in general. And for me, health and fitness is a part of that, of rewarding myself, helping myself, but bettering myself, but also sharing my experience with others so that they can, get better with it as well. And it's been really cool. And the same thing with IAM, the telemedicine company I'm involved with, right? I've had so many folks just message me out saying, thank God, there's a place I can go to, or, testosterone has completely changed my outlook on life. Someone sent me a message the other day saying they saw me do a tweet about testosterone, got their levels checked, and they were at a 102.
Whoa.
102. Like, what? Like, you're not even producing testosterone at that point. There's nothing there. He's like, I always wonder why I felt like complete crap. I'm like, well, yeah, right. I mean, we kind of need that. So, it's amazing to be able to help others. And at the end of the day, if you take anything from this podcast, help others, share your experiences, and good things happen at that.
Yeah. And I'll finish with this. I can't find the exact quote, and maybe I'll find it at some other point. But just what you're saying, about, I guess, the circumstances and how it sort of shapes us. There was, again, a lot of deep conversations about, why we are the way we are, and, family things, and like sort of, I guess, trauma and things that have sort of shaped us all into the people that we are now, everybody that was sort of sat around the table. There's a quote, and I'm going to absolutely bastardize it here because I can't find it, but essentially it's around hero and villains. And it's essentially the idea of the whole thing is they both have the opportunity to be each other. Whether it is trauma or some shit that's happened, there is always that sort of like origin story of why they are either the hero or the villain. And the things that sort of differentiate is if you use that to sort of either play the victim and then you're the villain, or use it to, motivate yourself to be the hero and use it as your hero story. So it's, again, just sort of looking at it on a circumstantial view.
Yep. So nailed it. One of the things that I wanted to talk about today is kind of our main area here. Was there was a recent study that came out. Well, there's been several, and this is just continuously building on. But there's more and more evidence. So if you look at how I would say the fitness industry has changed over the past several years to where we're at today, it's more and more evident that resistance training tends to be the more superior thing for health and fitness. And I mean that in the best way. Don't get me wrong, you still need cardiovascular health, but being able to maintain muscle mass, and I'm not saying bodybuilders, we're having bodybuilders drop and die at 50, 60 years old. So there's a balance, obviously, between all of this. But, building muscle mass, maintaining muscle mass, bone density, grip strength, and cardiovascular health seem to be kind of the recipe to live as long as you possibly can. And there's more and more evidence coming out every day. But the other factor is that, you look at these diets, and we've talked so much about diets before in the past, and, how the perception of diets versus what's actually there are very different. If you Google, high protein diets, you'll get, sites selling you keto, and you get, hey, you only need to do plant-based, or you only need to do this, right? And there's just so much information out there. And while it might be true in certain cases that it may work for some people, again, a lot of these diets will not allow you to sustain that level of restriction across your entire life. And what we're finding is that the word restriction, or restricting things from your diet, tends to be what causes us to fail. And the more restrictions we place on ourselves, the more unhappy we are, the harder it is for us to maintain that long term. And then, we get into, hey, I need a cheat day. I had somebody message me on I made a joke of eating these big ass hot dogs with, cheese and chili and everything else is probably 900 calories. And I was like, 300 calories, all protein, right? And someone responded back. He's like, oh man, thank God you have a cheat day. Like, it's not a cheat day. This is my normal day. Like, I'll eat this every day. It's fine. I mean, I don't prefer it to, but I could, because I know what I'm eating, what I need to prioritize, and what I need to focus on. It's not restrictive in any way. Now, it's balanced. I can't eat 10 pieces of pizza, or if I do eat 10 pieces of pizza, I better, not do that again every single day, or else I'm going to, not be, well, I'll get to the 250, 160 pound bulk, not in the right power.
Very, very quickly.
I'll hit it next week, but, what we need to realize is that everything in life is moderation, and everything in life doesn't need to be restrictive. For one, food is delicious.
Agree. I could not agree more.
Alcohol is delicious. Desserts are delicious. Whatever your thing is, food is amazing. Okay. And we are designed to love food. That's why you salivate when you see something, amazing in front of you. Right. So we don't want to restrict ourselves every single day into eating what we want. So if you're doing something like keto, well, that's great. And by the way, there are benefits of keto if you can stick to it. There's some great things that you can do from a type 2 diabetes perspective. If you have, hypoglycemia, there's a lot of great things of not spiking glucose that tends to help with regulation of your blood pressure, your overall cardiovascular health, et cetera, et cetera. Again, if you can stick this one, but it's not for everybody. But it's also not bad. But for me, I'd like to be able to eat whatever I want, whenever I want. It may just not as much of it. And so take the word restricted out of your book, and what the studies are showing. And there's a study from 2020. I'll talk about the most recent one here recently, but there's a study out of 2020 that was from NIH, and it was published, I think, in September 2020. And they did a various clinical trials around high protein diets. Okay. And what they found back then, and further elaborated in the most recent study, is that basically if you're taking high protein diets, you're focusing on protein first, you're going to be longer satisfied in the food that you ate. You're going to crave less of all of that other garbage that we put in our bodies. And 3, you're going to be experiencing a much faster and rapid weight loss than you would with other things. Our bodies are craving protein. And it's interesting because protein is very difficult to convert to fat. Very difficult. Carbohydrates and fat is 1-to-1. Carbohydrates is like 95% conversion rate. So the conversion between carbohydrates and fat is very easy to do. So your body will store them quite a bit. The second piece of that, though, is that again, protein does not convert very well to fat. It's a very large percentage. Your body prefers not to do that unless it absolutely has to. So protein is going to go to your nutrition. It's going to go to your muscles. It's going to go to how you feel. It's going to keep you fuller longer. So what does that mean? That means focus on protein first. Okay. So if you have the rule of protein first, and this is a great example. When I ate those 2 hot dogs, I got something with meat in it, right? I'm focusing on protein. I'm not going to get the pasta. Okay. Or if I'm going to get pasta, I'm going to get, double the amount of chicken that's going in there. I'm going to focus on the chicken less so than I am the pasta. All right. When I'm eating at restaurants, I typically don't get pasta. I typically go for the whole foods. I go for, a steak or a chicken breast or salmon. And that's my protein intake. And I focus on that first. And in fact, I went to Fleming's the other day with Aaron for a date night. And, I got a old fashioned, I got a French onion soup. And then all I had was a 11-ounce filet and some asparagus. That was my meal, right? And it was phenomenal. I didn't have any starches other than, you can definitely argue, obviously, the French onion soup. But that's what I enjoyed. That's my meal right there. And, if you look at the end of the day, I had 70 grams of protein, for my meal, stayed within my confines of my macros, and I ate very, very well with what I did. And it's that type of thinking and the rewiring of focusing on protein first, where if you're not even counting your calories or tracking your macros, you're going to have a lot of success. If you just track your protein intake, that's it. Everything else will probably fall in line because you're going to naturally be less hungry. So let's just say right now you're eating 80 to 90 to 100 grams of protein a day, which is going to be, by the way, the top tier of people, because most people are only getting 50 to 60 grams of protein a day. If you can get to 150, amazing. You're going to be a completely different person when it comes to how full you are for longer, and the ability to lose weight much easier by focusing solely on protein. So, again, there was a study that just recently came out from Robbenheimer and co-author Stephen Simpson, talking about how the food that we have basically engineered today creates this hunger for protein, and our bodies are basically craving protein all day long. And so we eat carbohydrates and food, but our body's like, that's not what I want. I want more food. So give me more food. So you get more carbohydrates, and then you get more carbohydrates, but you're still not getting the protein. So your body's like, well, I need more food because I need the protein, and it's not getting the protein. So it's a cyclical effect of everything that we're dealing with right now, and essentially creating the entire obesity issue. So, there's so many good studies out there around calories and protein and how it can cause you to lose weight. There's a study here. Evidence suggests that the Americans are consuming more processed foods and less minimally processed ones. An 18-year study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition in October 2021, 18-year study, found that ultra processed food consumption grew from 53.5% of calories in 2011 to 2002 to 57% by the study's end by 2018. So basically a 4% jump. And what it's saying here is that, the processed foods and the focus on carbohydrate / fat centric meals have increased the obesity levels and our ability to maintain healthy weight styles as we go along. Why don't we see, obese animals in the wild? We don't see obese animals in the wild. Why is that? Well, they're eating normal foods.
They don't have DoorDash.
They don't have DoorDash. They don't have all this stuff at their fingertips, right? We are the same. We're just an animal that has a consciousness and a lot more smarts. Some of us, not all of us. But another piece here. In the United States, more than 2 in 5 adults have obesity. 2 in 5 adults have obesity. The body mass index of 30 or higher, according to the national.
That is soon to be like 50%. Like that is soon going to be 50%, which is insane. So I have a question for you, Coach. Okay, I'm coming to you. This is a situation I've dealt with recently. I'm coming to you. It's my first week of coaching. All you've asked me to do is track my calories. One of my days, I have 60 grams of protein and 400 grams of carbs. What's your solution as my coach to get me to that 150, 160 grams of protein that I need throughout the day?
Well, I think first the eye-opening experience of what a person's eating is number one. So kudos for going through that, right? I mean, being able to say, Doc, I need you to document what you eat every day. That's the first step, because you need to know, like, what am I actually eating? And don't cheat yourself. Like, if you're having a freaking candy bar, put that damn thing down as a candy bar. Do not cheat yourself, because the only person you're cheating is you. It doesn't matter what Ben thinks. It matters what you think. It matters what you have in yourself and what you're actually putting in yourself. If you're just lying to yourself and you're not putting in the calories, well, you're not going to get any better. So first and foremost, seeing the actual results there. What I would do then, personally, as a coach, because I'm kind of a big deal in the coaching industry right now. Kind of teaching one of the top coaches right now. I'm coaching one of the top coaches that just presented in Spain. If you didn't know this, everybody. But I think the big important part is then starting to see how we can curb some of the changes of the types of food to eat to be more protein centric. And what worked for me was always starting my first bite with something protein, no matter what it was. So if it's a protein bar or protein shake, listen, I don't care if someone's drinking protein shakes all day long. I know you say, to me, if they're getting the protein in, they're getting the protein in. Now, I will say you're 100% right on the sense of whole foods. Whole foods will fill you up much longer and deeper than not. So if they get into a habit of drinking these all day long, they're not going to feel as full as if they were eating whole foods, which can be problematic. So you got to be careful with those tendencies. So starting off, I would focus, predominantly on whole foods, and getting more protein in that you're eating first. And that's the rule. Then you go eat a burger. Cool. Eat the burger first and then get the, go for the bread afterwards. See what happens. Focus on getting the protein in first and then try to hit a certain goal. Maybe it's just 100. So if he's only getting 60 in today, this week we're going to try to go for 100 and see if you can hit that consistently. Then go to 150. Let's see if you can hit that consistently. Here's some modifications that you can do to add in additional things of maybe we supplement in protein shake, or maybe you supplement in, frog fuel or something like that. Doesn't have a lot of that tweaks in it. And I think that's the piece that I would focus on. But one thing that I've always appreciated with you, Ben, is that regardless if I'm going up or down in calories, the difference in what I eat is very, very minimum. That maybe it's less oils, maybe it's less snacks, but my meals that I eat pretty consistent across the board. If I just stick to my meals that I eat all day long, I can literally ebb and flow, 500 calories one way or the other without an issue. If I start going down 1,000 calories, 2,000 calories, well, maybe, yeah. Okay. But luckily we haven't had to do that. So, it's one of those things where, what you eat should be fairly consistent, but hitting those protein goals has to be number one. I wouldn't even track carbohydrates at that point. I would just say, listen, just get to your calories, get to your protein intake and see what happens and see how you feel. And then let me know everything else that you're eating on top of that. And we'll start to focus on goals. But getting to the protein is going to be number one.
Yeah. I think that,
What about you? What would you do, Ben? What did you do, I should say?
What did I do? Yeah, I mean, essentially exactly what you said. Sort of observe that it's good that they were able to be honest in their sheet and actually present all the information. And I think that unless you have tracked food or have an understanding of food and or calories or how it's made up, you don't know. Like, how are you supposed to know? We're not taught that. So actually having that realization, actually looking at the numbers and going, okay, right, well, this is why I look and feel the way that I do. This is why I have no energy. This is, whatever. Um, to recognize that in the first place. Also making it a realistic target. There's no way that I can go, okay, right, you averaged 60 grams of protein this week. I want you to hit 200 next week, because there's absolutely, number one, your body probably wouldn't be able to handle it straight away. That's a different story for a different time. But I think the
definitely some poops.
yeah. Or not might be the case.
Oh yeah, go either way. Yeah, not good.
But yeah, setting the goal more realistic, and this is essentially why I have this as the start of the process, because people are like, oh, can you set me my targets now? And I'm like, it doesn't matter what I set. Like, I can go, okay, right, go and eat 2,000 calories and have 200 grams of protein, and you can either be eating 1,000 calories and 10 grams of protein, or it could be completely the other way. So having an understanding of where you are as your start point, and me making it more realistic to bring that in line, it's not going to be such a big jump, and it makes it more manageable the whole way through the process. Like, if it is way off, plus or minus, then yes, I'll probably try and move through it a little bit quicker. But with the protein thing, the thing that I say is, like you said, always focus on protein first. Make sure you have a protein source with each meal. In the meals that you look at on your tracking device, whatever way you track it, at MyFitnessPal, for example, look at the meals that have the protein and the carbs. Literally half the amount of carbs that you're having and double the amount of protein. If you did that, in that case, you would go to 200 carbs and you would go to 120 grams of protein. Okay, not maybe ideal in terms of the targets, but calories are going to be in and around the same, and you're already, infinitely better than you were. And then we refine the process from that. The other thing that I would say is, if you're pretty consistent with your meals, in terms of the things that you eat, or the times that you eat, at least, like the amount of meals that you eat, don't try and reinvent things. Just look at the stuff that you're already eating and how you can add a little bit more protein to that. So if it's, you eat eggs in the morning, can I add some more egg whites, or can I add Greek yogurt to my oats, or can I add an additional piece of chicken, or whatever the thing might be? Can I use protein pasta instead of regular pasta, whatever? And try and do it like that, and then essentially build on it from there. But the protein conversation, I mean, I would love to know how many times in my coaching career I've said the word protein, but it's the biggest struggle for the longest time. And I can't remember who exactly said it, but somebody said it in the coaching group recently that, they struggle, and then one day they just get it. Whether it's 8 weeks in, 10 weeks in, 12 weeks in, even 15 weeks in, like, it's a struggle, and then it just naturally becomes the way that you eat. And I think that you'll vouch for me on this. Like, if I took your phone off you for a week, number one, would you lose your mind? Yes. But number two, if you didn't actually have the capability to track your food, I would say that if I track your food, for example, going along, you'd probably be pretty much in line with where you need to be with your protein, because that's just how you eat now. And it just comes down to putting the time in and doing the food reps, let's say. The conversation around the protein shakes, like I said, I'm not against them in any way, shape, or form. I think if you can have shakes and sort of processed protein sources like bars and stuff like that as in and around 20% or less of your total protein intake, you're going to do yourself a lot of favors, because you don't necessarily get the full benefits that you've been talking about protein and digestion and burning the calories and things like that. So I'm not against them at all. Use them to supplement, don't use them to replace. And I think if you can stick to that, and stick to that 20% is good. Now, obviously, if you're in a pinch and you're traveling and the only thing that they have in the airport is protein bars and Fairlife shakes and Quest chips and Quest cookies, then fuck yeah, all day long. But it's obviously not an everyday thing.
For me, it's a convenience factor, right?
Yeah.
And it's whether or not I can get to it or not. So like this morning, I had some Kodiak oatmeal that has 20 grams of protein per serving.
Cooked or uncooked?
200,
Cooked or uncooked?
They're uncooked, but then I put them in the microwave.
So you cook them?
I cook them,
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
I tried the uncooked. It's awful. It's like fucking, I don't know.
You're just making it wrong.
Anyways, but the one that's 20 grams of protein, the Kodiak ones are great. The Kodiak oatmeal, because like one cup is basically 240 calories. I think it's like 20 grams of protein, 20 grams of carbohydrates. Is a really well balanced, like 2 grams of fat. It's a really good balance.
Delicious, like they're good. Flavor's good.
Yeah, it tastes great. And it's a nice balance of post workout. Getting some good carbs in. I threw some strawberries, some bananas in. I did 2 cups of those, so it was total of know, 550 calories, 40 grams of protein, 40 grams of carbohydrates, or it was actually 60 grams of carbohydrates. And then I added 2 scoops of a protein shake, you know, and I just had a protein shake with my greens and veggies, which taste like total ass.
Not delicious. Not delicious.
Not delicious, you know, as I'm eating this thing, you know, or drinking this thing, I'm like, chug, 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 get it out. But I've been using so I've been using AG1 for the longest time, Athletic Greens, but I just switched over to Caged because it also has the fruits in there as well. And they also have some great stuff like astragalus root, which is really good for liver and kidneys, blood work and lipids. And then you have turmeric, which is really good from an anti-inflammatory perspective. So I really like their kind of fruits and veggies stack. So I just switched recently to Caged. But I ate all that, but it's funny because I posted it and then I got like 3/4 through and I'm like, oh, I'm so full. I can't eat another bite of this. So I really only got like 3/4, you know, of all that in. So I bit too much I can chew, but you know, that's a good example of 90 grams of protein, you know, 60 grams of carbohydrates, a very well balanced meal. And now I'm at almost half of my requirement for the day, right? And then, you know, from there today, I definitely did not have Taco Bell. I was in a crunch, but I did.
Nobody asked you at Taco Bell? Why are you bringing it up?
What's that?
Nobody's asked you if you've had Taco Bell. Why are you bringing it up?
Yeah. Well, I had Taco Bell today. But I do have a specific thing I ordered there.
You had a cheat day? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, cheat day. Yeah,
I'm just joking. By
I eat Monday.
No,
but I
better
get there
day for it.
Yeah, I get 3 soft taco supremes, and I get them with extra steak. And you know, it ends up being like 30-40 grams of protein for that, and I'm, you know, sitting at 800 calories. So, you know, I'm already at, you know, basically 180 grams of protein at this point in time. I only have a little bit to go. I'll have a nice, you know, whole food meal at dinner. I'll still be within my, you know, 7,000 calorie mark for the day. So just kidding. I'm not at 7,000 calories. But my 3,200, which thank you, Ben, for that.
My pleasure.
And be within, well within the margin of what I need to eat. And I'm still full. I'm hungry. I'm just drinking a protein shake right now, which is going to put me over the edge, and we're good to go. So, you know, it's just finding time in the day for me. And if I'm slacking, like I haven't had enough to get whole foods, or maybe I went out and ate something terrible, you know, protein shakes are a great way to kind of offset or supplement that to get the protein that you need to. But again, focusing on, you know, you have to get X amount of protein a day. I'm at 230 grams of protein a day minimally. And I try to get 240, 250, 260. The more, the better. And there's a study that came out, again, you know, in that 2021 study, you know, everybody always talks about the impact that high protein diets have on potentially on kidney and liver. And so I just want to read this really quick. Clinical trials with the various designs have found that high protein diets induces weight loss and lowers cardiovascular disease risk factors such as blood triglycerides and blood pressure while preserving FFM, which, what would FFM be? FFM meaning fat-free mass. Fat-free mass. Yeah. So while preserving fat-free mass, such weight loss effects of protein were observed in both energy restricted and standard energy diets. So that's a big key there. So in energy restriction, you'll lose weight, as well as standard energy diets, i.e. not a deficit, just eating what you normally do, but high protein, also lost weight. And in long-term clinical trials with a follow-up duration of 6 to 12 months, contrary to some concerns, there is no evidence that high protein diet is harmful to bones or kidneys. However, longer clinical trials that span more than 1 year are required to examine the effects and safety of high protein diets in more depth. The mechanism underlying high protein diet induced weight loss involves an increase in satiety and energy expenditure. Increased satiety is believed to be the result of elevated levels of anorexigenic hormones, decreased levels of orexigenic hormones, increased DIT, elevated plasma, AA levels, increased hepatic gluconeogenesis, and increased ketogenesis from the higher protein intake. Protein is known to increase energy expenditure by having a markedly higher DIT than carbohydrates and fat, and increasing protein intake preserves RE by preventing FFM decrease. So, you know, again, we're seeing study after study, high protein, more energy expenditure, more satiety, i.e. being full for much longer periods of time. Just focus on protein. You got this. It's all you need to do. No diet, no keto, no carnivore, no plant-based, no whatever, eat whatever the fuck you want. Just do it within focus on high protein. And you're good to go. Eat a cake, eat cheesecake, eat ice cream. It's fine. Eat a pizza. It's okay. We like pizza. Pizzas are great. I had pizza the other day. But focus on protein first. Hit those protein goals. And you're probably not going to eat 10 pieces of pizza then. Probably only have a pizza or two. These are the things that can really make a difference in long-term lifespan goals of being able to do this consistently without having to do these ebbs and flows on keto for 6 months and drop off, or keto for 2 months and drop off. And you have one cheat day, then it's 2 cheat days, and it's 3 cheat days. And same thing, consistency is key here. Focus on high protein. It's really what you need to do. Rest all starts to fall in line.
Agree. And one fun fact about protein is it in itself, consuming adequate amounts of protein in itself is anabolic in itself. So you can literally build muscle by just eating protein. What a fucking time to be alive. The thing that you're saying there about focusing on protein, everything else falls in line. Our man Hermosi, that I'm a big fan of, actually got his book today. Good. Second book arrived.
Nice.
He did his essentially what his diet looks like. Essentially, he eats 2 pounds of meat a day, which is around about 200 grams of protein, and then adjusts the other things around it to accommodate whatever he's trying to achieve. So obviously, if he's trying to put on muscle, he'll eat more other foods, and if he's trying to cut back, he'll not. And genuinely, like from what he says, and I mean, I don't have any reason not to trust him. He focuses on eating those 2 pounds of meat, which, like I said, is in and around 2 pounds of lean meat before people start losing their mind. That'll get him, in around 1,000 calories, and then he can just adjust the rest. And he literally, his thing is never skip dessert. So he'll have cookie, he'll eat cheesecake, he'll have whatever else he wants, cake, whatever it is. I'm not saying that that's the most optimal way to do it, but the dude's fucking jacked, and I'm not going to argue with him.
Results speak for itself, man.
Yeah.
Results speak for itself.
Yeah. So yeah, he focuses on that, and then the other bits and pieces fall in line.
Well, one thing to also hit, I think, really fast is I got hit with the person again, or our person saying, well, that's 90 grams of protein. You're just throwing away, 50 of those grams of protein because your body can only intake 30 grams. And it actually hits right on your point of protein being anabolic, Ben. Mm-hmm. So, by the way, this has been discredited so many times. It's not even funny by publication after publication, but again, somehow the bro science gym stuff, still makes it out there. But this is a study from 2012, December of 2012. Several recent publications indicate that the maximum stimulation of muscle protein fractional synthetic rate occurs with intake of only 20 to 30 grams protein max. This finding has led to the concept that there is a maximum anabolic response to protein intake with a meal, and that the normal amount of protein eaten with dinner will generally exceed the maximally effective intake of protein. However, protein breakdown has not been taken into account when evaluating the anabolic response to protein intake. Protein anabolism occurs when protein synthesis exceeds breakdown protein breakdown. Higher protein intake when protein synthesis is maximized is characterized by suppressed protein breakdown, and via that mechanism leads to a greater anabolic response. This explains why net protein synthesis is measured. The relationship between amino acid availability and net gain remains linear, without any apparent plateau or effect at higher levels of availability. We conclude that there's no practical upper limit to the anabolic response to protein or amino acid intake in the context of a meal, i.e., eat more protein. Eat as much protein as you want all day long, every day, 200 grams a serving, whatever, doesn't matter. Gonna be more anabolic.
Simple as that.
Simple. Yeah.
As simple as that.
Yeah.
Right. In the nature of how last week went and the communication, the community, the vulnerability side, and the depth of communication, today on the Hacks group call, I took one of the conversation cards because we did those last week at Matt's event. And I sort of asked everybody to share. So I'm going to ask you. The card says, and I don't necessarily know how you're going to answer this or take it, and I know that you have not prepared for this because I've just pulled it out of the deck there now. So you're like, oh fuck, what's he going to ask me? What is the crazy big idea you would try if you could not fail?
A crazy big idea that I could try
if you could not fail.
If I knew I couldn't fail. I don't know, man. Like I've already tried every crazy idea, knowing that I could fail though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the thing though. Like I don't. There's always a thing in the back of my head that I could fail on something, but if I'm gonna want to do something big, I just go and do it, and then I figure out if I fail, if I not, I try to get past it. And I don't know.
Well, I think I agree with what you're saying. And maybe this is just a little bit short-sighted of me, and maybe I haven't thought about it too much, but I think that if you can embrace failure and understand that it's part of the process, and that is and has been a huge lesson from the gym for me for a long time. Like, failure is part of the process. So I don't ever look at anything and go, oh, I don't want to do that for the fact that I might fail.
Right. Fail. Yeah.
I'm actively going into things knowing that there is a high probability that I will fail, and that's okay. And I'll work it out on the other side, and I will fail as fast as possible, and I will fail forward into it. I'm not saying that I've always felt that way. I think, going back again to the public speaking thing, it's something I probably put off for a long time for that exact reason, that I feel like I would fail and feel like a fucking dick standing on the top of the stage. But I feel like as I've sort of, I don't know if matured is the word, as I've gotten older, we'll say, I understand that that's going to be part of the process, and failure is part of the process. And if you can embrace that a little bit more,
I think that's the big difference. Is like I don't look at failure as a negative.
Yeah,
I look at failure as a learning experience, and so the more I can fail, the more I learn.
Yeah,
and I learn how not to do that again. Right. Yeah. I've had many failures throughout my entire life. Ones that have changed my life for the better. All of them have changed my life for the better when I failed. And I think the thing that we look at as a human is that we typically don't want confrontation. We typically don't want big disruptions or changes in our lives. We want things to go the same way that they have always gone. And to change that is very difficult. And when you have failure, it could either be in the form of confrontation, something catastrophic changing. But at the end of the day, you learn from that failure, and why did I fail in the first place, and what can I do to get better with it in the future? And I think that's the big difference of people that overcome that failure and succeed, and those that take that failure and hide. And those are the two different types of people that you can be today by making those decisions. When you fail, learning lesson.
Good.
When you
Jocko,
fail,
good.
don't tuck away and hide.
Didn't get the
Push
job.
Forward.
Good.
I failed.
Yeah.
Cool. Everybody look at it. I failed. Fantastic. It sucks. Shit.
Go again.
But guess what? Tomorrow it's gonna be a better day.
I learned.
Go again. I'm not gonna do that again.
Yeah.
So yeah. Love it. Well, that's it for this week's podcast, everybody. We got it right in the nick of time. Does it have to go out today, or is it tomorrow morning?
It has to be live in 7 hours.
Okay. Yeah. We nicked it right in the mix. See, this is about as live as it gets for us, by the way. This
maybe
literally
we
is
should do a live. The one that I recorded last week, 2 weeks ago, it was actually live. So maybe we should do one live on YouTube or something like that.
Yeah, it'd be fun to get some responses from folks, do like a live thing. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
But it is Monday, September 11th, 2023 at 4:10 p.m. my time, which is like, 8, 9, 10 p.m. Ben's time. So we got this right in the nick of time, and we're recording again on Wednesday. So you're going to get us again pretty live as well. And appreciate everybody listening this week.
See you next week.
Later.